What's up? It's Richie here, Stadifying Football. This is for the Week 1 games for college football for the Friday games. I just did my video for the Thursday one. Check that one out there. Check out my other ones for the Saturdays. Let's just get started with Friday. There aren't as many as Thursday, so it should be quick. North Carolina, Virginia Tech. North Carolina coming off an 8-4 year. They were the number 9 scoring offense in the country last year, 5th in total offense. They have 16 returning starters, plus huge Heisman candidate Sam Howell, 3,586 yards, 30 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. A really good linebacker in Tomon Fox, who had 7 sacks last year. I think North Carolina should come back and be one of the favorites, one of the best teams in the ACC. Like I said, Sam Howell, the last 2 years, has been putting up ungodly numbers, and should do so again. Playing Virginia Tech, coming off a subpar 5-6 season. They have 14 returning starters. They were 43rd in scoring offense last year, 31st in total offense. Their quarterback, their head coach Justin Fuentes, he generally knows how to get an offense going. This will be kind of a bounce back year for Virginia Tech, but North Carolina might have too much out of the gate. Granted, North Carolina is losing 2 1,000-yard rushers and 2 1,000-yard receivers, but with that quarterback back there for North Carolina, it's going to be really, really tough for Virginia Tech to stop them. It will be in Plattsburgh, so Virginia Tech always plays pretty well at home, always has a pretty decent defense, but I think North Carolina should be able to come out with the victory there. All right, then you got Duke and Charlotte. Duke 2-9 last year, only 10 returning starters, the worst team in the country with 39 turnovers last year. They have a pretty good running back in Mateo Durant, 817 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns in those 11 games. They're playing Charlotte. It's coming off a 2-4 year, kind of a subpar year for them. I think they made a bowl a couple of seasons ago. They do have quarterback Chris Reynolds back, who's been there for the last 4 years. 1,305 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, 2 picks. Victor Tucker, one of the more explosive wide receivers in the country, only had 30 catches, but for 400 yards and 2 touchdowns in those games. This could actually be a pretty decently close game because Duke is unsure at quarterback. Yeah, they're an ACC team, but if they keep turning it over, Charlotte showed a couple years ago they can play pretty well with the big boys, but I think Duke should be able to come out with a victory here. But that I think I'm going to put Duke on quote upset alert in that game. All right, Old Dominion and Wake Forest. Unfortunately, I'm not sure this will be close for Old Dominion because they're one of 3 teams that didn't play at all last year because of COVID. They were 1-11 2 seasons ago. They do have UCF transfer quarterback DJ Mack that will probably start there for them, so that should be a decent upgrade for them at quarterback. They were 46 2 years ago in total defense there, which is positive for them, but they have 7 returning starters from that team a couple of seasons ago. Whereas they're playing Wake Forest, who went 4-5, but they made a bowl game, which they lost. They had the number 19 scoring offense in the country with 19 returning starters, including all 11 on that pretty potent offense. Quarterback Sam Hartman, 2,224 yards, 13 touchdowns and 5 picks. And wide receiver Jakarta Roberson, one of the best receivers in the ACC, 62 catches, 926 yards, 8 touchdowns. And including strong safety Nick Anderson at 4 picks. I think he had 3 in one game last year or something like that a couple years ago. But I think Wake Forest shows off their offense here and should be able to make quick work of Old Dominion. All right, St. Francis, a 1AA team against Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan coming off a 2-4 team. They lost their 4 games by a total of 26 points. So they were very close to being a winning team. And hopefully for them, they can turn that around and get some victories there. They have 16 returning starters on offense on their team. They were actually the number 33 scoring offense nationally in the country, so they can put up some points. They have a good quarterback in Preston Hutchinson, who passed for 1,662 yards, 12 touchdowns to 6 picks. And wide receiver Hassan Beydoun, 40 catches for 508 yards there. I think Eastern Michigan should be able to bounce back pretty well and have a nice 1-0, start off 1-0 against St. Francis. All right, South Dakota and Kansas. Kansas was maybe the worst team, definitely the worst Power 5 team. They were 0-9. They do have 15 returning starters, and they have a good head coach in Lance Leopold, who's been at Buffalo the last few years. They went, I think, 7-1, something like that last year. They were one of the best running offenses in the country. They made bowl games the last few seasons, so he knows how to turn downtrodden programs around. Now, Kansas is a whole different animal, but we'll see what he can do there. They have a pretty good quarterback, transfer quarterback Jason Bean from North Texas. Last year, he split some time, but passed for 1,131, 14 touchdowns and 5 picks. So he could do something with them there. And he's got a good receiver to throw to. And Kwame Lassiter at the second, 43 catches, 458 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, the past few seasons, Kansas has lost to these 1AA teams. I think it'll be a little bit different this time around. I think Lance Leopold will show that. I don't know if they'll have a winning year, but he'll show that he's a good coach and could have them on the upswing over the next few seasons. All right, then you got Northwestern and Michigan State. This is actually a pretty big Big Ten game. Michigan State's coming off a down year, 2-5. I kind of don't expect them to stay down too long. They have 14 returning starters. They have transfer Anthony Russo, a quarterback from Temple, who had solid seasons the last 3 years. He's thrown a few too many interceptions, but he's put up some numbers and a bunch of touchdown passes, more touchdown passes than interceptions, which should help them. They have 2 really good receivers, one in Jaden Reed, 33 catches, 407 yards, and Jalen Naylor, 26 catches for 515 yards. Northwestern, coming off a great 7-2 season, they made it to the Big Ten championship game and lost a pretty close game to Ohio State. I think they lost 22-10 or 25-10, something like that. It was a close game. They only have 7 returning starters, which could hurt them, but they did have the 5th best scoring defense nationally last year and should have a solid defense there. They have South Carolina quarterback transfer Ryan Helinski, who should solidify that quarterback position for them. They have one of the best safeties in the country in Brandon Joseph, who tied for the National League with 6 interceptions there. This might be a pretty low scoring game, not a lot of offense, a lot of normally good defense from both of these schools. It'll be in Northwestern. I'll give Northwestern a slight. I mean, both have starting quarterbacks that are transfers. I don't know. I'll give Northwestern a slight edge. Maybe their defense might be a little bit better, but this honestly could be like a 17-14 old school Big Ten slugfest football game. All right, then 2 more games. You got Northern Colorado against the Colorado Buffaloes. They were a surprising team in the Pac-12 last year. They only had 6 games, but they went 4-2. They have 12 returning starters. They were 23rd nationally in rushing offense last year. Running back Jarek Broussard, in only those 6 games, ran for 895 yards and 5 touchdowns. He should be locked for 1,000 yards. It's possible he could go for 2,000 if those numbers translate over a 12 and maybe bowl game season. Who knows? He should at least get one between 1,000 and 1,500 yards. And linebacker Carson Wells had 6.5 sacks in only those 6 games. Nate Lehman had 53 tackles in those 6 games as well. Colorado should have made quick work of Northern Colorado. Then the final game of Friday night, South Dakota State and Colorado State. Colorado State's coming off a 1-3 season. They do have 2 really good receivers, tight end Trey McBride, and in those 4 games, 22 catches, 330 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Wide receiver Dante Wright, 20 catches, 315 yards in those defensive ends. Scott Patchen had 5.5 sacks in only those 4 games. They're actually number 4th nationally in sacks per game, and only those 4 they were put up a whole bunch of sacks in a short amount of time. They should have not much trouble with South Dakota State there. So those are my picks for Friday. Like I said, check out my other videos for the Thursday and the Saturday games as well. Peace.